And after the first 6 months of strict carnivore and Ozempic together.
Libby, how did you find Carnivore?
Hi, Dave. Thanks so much for having me today. So I started carnivore in December of 2022. However, I'd like to first tell you about my why. So I attended a family barbecue fun party. The night before, I had kind of talked to myself and said, you can eat whatever you want. I'm going to eat all the carbs I want, no calorie restriction, nothing like that. I'm just going to basically pig out. Well, of course, I did that. The next day, I woke up and my entire face was swollen down to my neck. And I had slight swelling before after eating a lot of carbs just directly under my eyes. This was my entire face, and it looked horrible. And it just also really scared me. I thought my body is saying something very serious to me. Something is not right here. It actually took 3 days for that swelling to go away. And I had just been reading before that about learning about inflammation. So I figured that must be some true inflammation. So then, of course, I was very motivated to start something. So in December of 2022, I started a program called Calibrate, and they use Ozempic, the weight loss drug. I qualified for the program, met with their doctor online, and I was, I guess, a perfect patient for it. So I had about 5 weeks before the Ozempic would arrive in the mail. So I was anxious to get started. I just felt terrible about my health. So I began looking online. And of course, Carnivore pops right up. And I saw all the famous people that we all enjoy watching, Dr. Berry, Carnivore Quest, Nutrition with Judy, Homestead Hal, Carnivore Kip, Anthony Chafee, Dr. Ovadia, Steak and Butter. I mean, all those great, amazing YouTubers. And I just took it in like a bunch of carbs. I just ate it up. And so I watched like 2 days, 2 full days of these videos, and I was completely sold. So I am definitely not a moderator. I am an all or nothing type of person. So I just jumped right in, jumped in with meat and eggs. And thankfully, I had no side effects. I didn't have the sickness, the flu-like sickness that so many people get. I just had that first week of getting off carbs, which was tough. But I was so decided to do something that would really affect my health in a positive way. So anyways, my Ozempic about 5 weeks later arrived in the mail, and I was already down 12 pounds from eating the carnivore diet. But I was excited. I had heard so much hype about Ozempic, so I thought I'm going to give it a fair shake. So I got on Ozempic, and after the first 6 months of strict carnivore and Ozempic together, I had lost 40 pounds and no problem at all. And at that point, they started tapering down my Ozempic because I had met my weight loss goals. So I was practically on nothing at all. And I just continued the carnivore, diet very strong and with great results. And interesting enough, I had no side effects from Ozempic either. Like I actually felt wonderful on it. So I didn't have these negative things a lot of people say. But from that Calibrate program, it had a lot of online materials and things that were interesting and very good. One thing I took away from that program is to only eat one ingredient foods. Like I had never heard that in my whole life. It blew my mind. And I think that alone, that takeaway really helped me to understand and stick with the carnivore diet for sure. So growing up, my backstory, I grew up in a wonderful family. I had a mother that just cooked all those great homemade meals. We didn't go out very much to eat. My brother had very serious hypoglycemia, so we never had sugar or sugary foods in the house. But we did have carbohydrates like, bread and pasta. So another thing in our daily life was a lot of artificial sweeteners too. We consumed a lot of diet pop, diet syrups, diet jellies, those type of things. So then I went to college after that. And like most typical kids, I gained the freshman 15. And of course, all the girls in my dorm, we were all gaining weight and trying to find diet plans. So at that point, kind of the dieting started for me. Things like the cabbage soup diet, Atkins, Weight Watchers, and just plain old calorie restriction, which for me is something I've always fallen back on in the past, but I've hated it. Just hate calorie restriction. Also, from these diets, I would give myself a cheat day after a week or two of feeling great about my progress. I would give myself this cheat day, and then it would just throw me into a major binge, which really I had done that my whole life. I just didn't really gain weight as a kid, but now that as an adult, I would binge and was putting on weight faster than ever. So, and this would throw me into depression and anxiety. I would just feel like terrible about myself. And so then I would quit. And then when I got enough strength up again, I'd start a new diet to, try to keep going. But what I've learned through the carnivore diet is that processed foods have been engineered to be highly addictive. So that's why, I and probably most other people keep going back to those carbs or those processed foods because they were made to addict us and get us, onto them constantly. So after college, I got married. We had 3 children. And with like every pregnancy, I would put on more and more weight, never really lose the weight that came from the pregnancy. And then in my 40s, I started having symptoms, which really I had none before, but, getting a little older in my 40s. So I started having joint pain. I was pre-diabetic at 45. I had also really bad skin breakouts. I still had acne on my face, even in my 40s, and also just breakouts on other portions of my body at different times. I had brain fog, I had allergies. Also, my left hand for many years, when I would sleep or drive in the car, it would fall asleep, it would go numb. And so at night, I had to wear like a carpal tunnel sleeve to keep it from going numb. That was, I would say 10 years I suffered with that. So, anyways, now after 2.5 years being on the carnivore diet, some really positive things now that have come from it is I have less gray hair, which is weird and pretty awesome. I also don't get sunburned anymore. I have no joint pain at all. And also, I'm able to build muscle, I noticed fairly easily. And then, of course, I have clear skin as well. When I do kind of allow myself or do something like maybe when I'm at a restaurant and maybe they've had an oil in there or say beans, if I have some black beans, the first thing that happens to me is my skin will break out. So that seems to be the most sensitive area of inflammation on my body. So, and when you're on this journey, I feel like you keep just wanting to improve yourself. It's really an exciting journey. And so about 2 months ago, maybe closer to 3 now, I decided to give up my last thing that was holding me back, which was artificial sweeteners. Um, again, as a kid, consumed a lot of this. And my mother, just this December, just recently passed away of dementia. And she also consumed a lot of these things. However, I have no idea if that contributed to her dementia. But, I walked that journey with her and it was very painful. So I really started worrying about my brain health in general and wanting to try to avoid any possible symptoms of dementia. So I've given up just like I did carnivore. It was overnight. I gave up diet pop. And also one other thing I was doing was diet chewing gum. And I didn't even realize how much gum I was chewing. And like when I was at work, chewing gum has carbs, even though it's sugar-free. I was consuming about 20 carbs a day just in chewing gum carbs and sugar-free. So I thought, this is nuts. So quickly got rid of that happily and really have had no issues getting off the sugar-free stuff. I also, from Dr. Mary Newport, I don't know if you're familiar with her, but her husband had dementia and she was a prenatal or a pediatric doctor. And when babies are born very early, one thing they give them for their brain health is MCT oil to develop their brains. So her husband was starting to go through dementia. So she put her husband on coconut oil and MCT oils. And she began right away to see improvement. He scored better on that memory test that they give patients right away after having like 2 days of it. He scored so much higher. So and it extended, he did pass away, but it definitely extended his life and gave him better years. So I thought, since I do have some personal struggle and worry about my brain, I thought I'm going to start taking these oils and, can't hurt. That was about 8 months ago. I started those oils and feel very good about that. And then
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to talk about was the exercise that I'm doing. I walk a lot, but I also do sprinting. And I am 56 years old and never thought I would run again. But Dr. Sean O'Mara, I listened to a couple of his talks and really got motivated. I thought, I'm going to give this a try. And so sure enough, my sprints are short and probably to most people not very fast. I'm only 5 foot tall, but I feel so young and healthy and free when I'm sprinting. I probably look like a fool, but I really love it. And they say it's very good for those starting and stopping muscles that we tend to lose as we age. So I have not injured myself yet. And I do it very carefully. I really listen to my body to make sure, I don't have knee pain or runner's knee or bad ankles or anything like that. That's been wonderful. The other thing I do is light weightlifting. Dr. Lisa Wiederman, she has a method, especially for older adults, where you lift heavy, but you lift very slow and up and down over, it's like 90 seconds. And so you're not doing a lot of reps, but you're lifting heavy and you can really feel it in the muscles. And I've also seen that it's kind of given me definition. So it has definitely worked for me, that method. And I would encourage anyone to lift weights, but that's kind of my journey. It's really still developing and I'm super excited about it.
So, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Can I clarify? So, when you were doing that combined carnivore Ozempic stint, the Ozempic part, once you'd lost 40 pounds, you just gave the Ozempic away.
Well, the doctor online wanted me to continue it for a year. It was a year program, but we were down to the very lowest dosage. I mean, by September, it was the lowest dosage they could go, and they just wanted me to continue it till through November.
Um, and uh, how have you been eating on carnivore to get you to this point?
So my daily foods are probably my favorite food is a chuck roast. Um, I love chuck roast, steak, of course, ground beef. Uh, we do a lot of chicken wings. My husband is also on this journey with me. He really didn't have any weight to lose, but he was a little more on the sugars. So that he's really been able to pull back and has really, I mean, his weight's gone down a little, and his brain is clear. So we do this journey together and take turns cooking, and then really we've made it pretty fun together. But basic foods are, really basic every day, and eggs. And the simpler I keep it, the better I feel. That's what I've learned. And a little cheese, but I do get a little inflammation from cheese.
Right. And how many times are you eating during the day?
Basically two times a day. I work 12-hour shifts, and many times I'll just eat one big meal when I'm at work. And then the other days when I'm at home, I usually eat two meals.
And that's great that you and your husband can both do this together. Was it he saw your results and he thought, "Oh, I want to do this"?
I think he did. Yeah. I think, of course, I do most of the cooking. So he at times had no choice to eat but what I was eating, right? But I think he saw right away how quickly the weight came off for me. And then I think my whole appearance, it wasn't just weight loss. It was like I just looked healthier all around. My skin just looked so much better. And I think he saw all that and was like, wow, what is this? And so he jumped right on board. And he definitely doesn't have the inflammation that I dealt with. I feel like he can go to an event or something and have a bite of something, and it doesn't throw him off into a binge or nothing like that. He's very much a moderator. But so I think this has been a little easier on him, but we've been side by side, so we're enjoying it.
And what are other people around you? What are their reactions to this? You've lost a lot of weight. You're on this crazy meat diet. How have they reacted?
Yeah, it's really weird. Some people see the results and make comments and are amazed. But so many times you mention carnivore, and you almost think you've said something wrong. I think we've been so brainwashed, and at least in our country, to believe that plants are everything, and you've got to have grains, and you've got to have these things. So I just feel like all I can do is kind of witness and be who I am. And if people ask and want to know, then I certainly tell them. Our three kids are definitely on board and support me greatly. My mother-in-law, she's gotten on the plan now, and she's done wonderfully. So, it works. And so, but some people still have a hard time believing it.
It's interesting because they can see the results in front of them, but they're still, it's almost like people are hardwired to think that, well, that's not, I can't believe what I see.
Right. It is. And too, like, I know all the information, and I always like really enjoyed vegetables. really never gave me any major issues. And at times I miss them. And even that is still in my head at times saying, there's nothing wrong with vegetables. What could be wrong with them? Um, you know, I feel, I don't feel as good when I do consume them, like maybe at a restaurant. I can't say they affect me real negatively, but I just don't feel quite as good. Just that simple diet, truly of beef and eggs and water and salt and a little butter, and I feel like my system is works perfectly.
Nice. So, it's it seems like you were quite lucky that there was a time period between when you decided to get on this Calibrate program and when it actually arrived. If that hadn't happened, then you might not have found Carnivore, right?
Exactly. I probably would have just given any benefits, credit to Calibrate. I really seriously I was scared, of course, to totally get off the drug, thinking maybe this really is the key to this. Maybe it's not carnivore, but truly, I think there was a week or two of feeling a slight bit of hunger. But what I did, I just hunkered down even more and ate more beef and more salt and just made sure that I had nothing from the outside that would affect me. So it seems like it was maybe a 2-week transition and no hunger at all. I just was able to feel naturally now from my gut those signals that tell me when I'm full. I feel it, no problem. And also those natural signals of telling me when I'm actually hungry. So yeah, there was some fear, but yet I found that a 2-week process, I was off that drug, no problem, and have not had any weight regain or anything.
Mm. So, what is the main reason you would stick with Carnivore going forward?
I think for me, if I had to pick one reason, it would be for brain health and for avoiding dementia in the future, since my mother did have it. But there are so many benefits from it, that I truly feel younger every day instead of getting older like most of the people I'm around, how they express joint pain or, oh, this hurts or that hurts. Um, I truly feel younger, and I just want I know I'm going to get older, but yet hopefully in my mind I can keep that youthful attitude and keep my body moving and just keep putting health into it rather than taking away from it.
So, not even if I gave you $1,000,000, would you go back?
I don't think so. No. I mean, that's tempting, but nah, I think I'd have to stay because I've never felt this good. I literally feel like I'm 20 years old again. It, it's truly miraculous. It is the best plan ever.
Nice. Has have you noticed any changes in oral health since you started Carnivore?
Hmm. Well, I do. I was just at the dentist. I've always had good dental health, thankfully. But the assistant would always say, "Oh, you're eating sugar. I can see that in your teeth." And I never get that comment anymore. It's always they just do it quick. It's very fast for them. And I'm like, so how do my teeth look? Oh, they look great. Yeah, I haven't had any cavities. Nothing, no issues, period. No oral health at all. My hair is very healthy. It grows very fast. My nails grow super fast. And like I said, less gray hair. So that's wild, It's crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the hair thing for me, the changing color or the hair getting thicker and that kind of thing is just, yeah, the last thing I would have expected.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. So, someone wants to get started with Carnivore, one of your friends, for example. they see the weight loss you've had, but they're a little bit reluctant or they're not sure how to get started. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would first tell them to do some research and look online at all the great YouTube channels there are to go to, all the doctors, and really start investigating like I started, and really start ingesting that information and let the information convince you, convince them, because that is certainly what it did for me. And like I said, I'm not a moderator. I just had to start it. But I know for some people that is not a good method either. So I think depending on the type of personality they are, whether it's right away or a slow going into it, I would just have them find out what would be the best way, but definitely simplify the diet. Meat and truly beef and eggs and salt and water. That's what I would say to anybody. Just focus on those foods and give your body a break from everything else and just watch your body heal and come alive.
Nice advice. So, Libby, if people want to reach out to you, do you have a YouTube or an Instagram or any social media?
Well, I am starting a carnivore channel. It's going to be called Positively Carnivore. So I'm sorry it's not up and running quite yet, but that is my goal. So,
Yeah, when that's ready, I'll link to that in the description.
okay, wonderful.
And yeah, Libby, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm very honored. Thank you.